It's your boy, Deconverted Man here. I don't know why I decided to talk like that. Now I've got an accent. I guess my sanity is just gone. Whee! Anyways, so last we left off, I was complaining about this video called the Skeptic Course. What is the evidence for the existence of God? Well, the existence of Yahweh, not God. I mean, God, their God is Yahweh. So really it should be the evidence for their particular version of God. But okay, anyways. And we stopped, or I stopped rather, at about 18 minutes-ish into the video after I'd complained for a while last time. So I don't know how far we're going to get this time, but I'm going to go through it and complain about stuff, and hopefully it will be entertaining, and hopefully it will be challenging, and hopefully it will be, I don't know if it will be educational, but hopefully I'll challenge whatever theist is left that still watches my stuff, and maybe, just maybe, actually get across the issue that I've been trying to with theists. So to do that, before I begin, I wanted to talk a little bit about magic. I know, kind of weird, but go with me. So once again, I'm taking one of my many objects I have on my computer. You want to see? Look at all of it. Look at all the stuff I have over there. Okay, so it's always entertaining. Well, I'm glad I entertained Trinity Solution, Robert. Okay, so magic. So here I've got this little critter. Had them 3D printed. If you would like one of these guys, I got a couple more floating around. I guess email me, and then I guess if you pay for shipping and handling, I'll send you one. I guess. I don't know. I don't know why maybe I'll charge $8 for it because I like the number 8. I don't know. Anyways, tangent. I forgot what I was talking about. I blamed this video. Magic, right. So here's the guy. Here he is. Okay. And oh, he's gone. Oh my God. How did I do that? It was amazing. There he's back again. Here, let's just do that again. Because I mean, that was just amazing. Oh, it's so cool. How did I do that? He's back again. Okay, so magic. So oh, wait, I can also do this. I can take my thumb. Oh, I can take my thumb all the way down here. And oh, you weren't supposed to see how I did it, but you did. I don't care. It doesn't matter. My point is magic. There are people that believe in actual magic as opposed to a magic trick like I poorly performed just now. Not too many, granted, and some of them spell it with M-A-G-I-C-K instead of C. Sometimes the G is flipped around. Some Wiccans practice magical spells or incantations. They might have other ways of putting it other than just the word magic. But it is something that is still around, and you have voodoo people that are into voodoo and think that if you poke a doll, that will affect the person, or and things like the black magic and things like that. So I don't believe any of that is anything other than at best a placebo and or nocebo effect. If it was something real, we could demonstrably demonstrate that it was an actual thing. So if poking a doll with a pin could cause somebody to feel that would be something you could test in a laboratory under controlled conditions, double-blind experiments. You could have gotten $1 million at one point for something like that. Actually, even though the JRIF challenge is no longer available, there's still other money to be made by proving one of these things is true. So there isn't a reason to not go and prove it if these things are true. The reason I bring that up is actually I did get a hold of the preacher that's in this apologetic series, whose name now my brain doesn't want to remember. So whatever his name is, I'm sorry, my brain doesn't know his name anymore. But this gentleman, I actually did email him. I emailed the organization and it got forwarded to him, and we've had a kind of a little bit back and forth. And he I don't know if he meant to irritate me, but he did. And, I'm just like kind of, getting a little bit combative with my comebacks now. And so I might cause it to be that our planned talk that I destroy it before it even becomes a talk, because I get like combative so easily. So I'm trying to rein myself in. But anyway, so I said that, we got in this discussion of evidence. What do you mean by evidence? Because my first video, I complained he didn't present us with any evidence. He presented us with arguments. Arguments are not evidence. I cannot go to the bank and say, premise one, either I exist or I don't have $1 million. Premise two, I do exist. Conclusion, I have $1 million. And then expect them to say, look, I gave you guys an argument. Now, can I withdraw some of my $1 million from my account? I'd formulate the argument a little bit better, but nonetheless, I can't just go to a bank and present an argument and now have money in my account, because that's not evidence. That's not what they mean by evidence. It's not what I mean by evidence. Depends who you're talking to, though. The word evidence can have different meanings, different ideas behind it. Okay, so here's a thing that we're saying happened, and I'm saying I want evidence for that thing. And you're saying, okay, well, I don't have empirical evidence for it because it's in the past. Okay, well, what do you have then? Okay, well, I don't have any way to test it either. Okay, well, what do you have? I have some writings. Okay, fair enough. We have some writings. Now, maybe that's all we have. All right, so when were they found? Where were they found? Who found them? Let's date the material it was found on. Let's see if it is like other writing at the time. Because we don't want to, we want to make sure it's not a fraud. We want to make sure that it's legitimate, because there have been archaeological frauds. People think that they can make money, or maybe they're motivated by religious reasons or other motives to fake something, because they want people that, if you want to save somebody's eternal soul, you might be motivated to fake something. Maybe not. Not saying anyone did. I'm just saying that because of those things, because we know people can be wrong, they can lie, things can be found, but they were fabricated by somebody later on or whatever, that we need to have a process that we subject these things, this whatever was found, to that process, so that we go, okay, we know that this thing is a real thing. It's not a forgery. It wasn't made up by somebody. It was penned down in such and such date. Now, who wrote it? Maybe we don't know that. Maybe that's tradition of saying who wrote it or something like that. And, maybe there's more questions. Okay, fair enough. The problem becomes when we're examining theistic writings, or the only category that I think it falls into is mythology. Now, you as a theist might object and say, well, my religion isn't mythic because my religion actually really happened. Maybe it did, I don't know, because I'm the outsider. I'm the skeptic looking in, and your religion looks like all the other religions to me, so to speak, broadly speaking. Okay, obviously every religion looks different, but But there's claims made in these writings that are claims like other religious writings, where somebody or a group of somebodies has reported seeing an event or participating in something that is not something that we have observed to be possible today. So a person rides a horse in the sky, that they're flying through the air like this, like Superman or something. Like the horse, horse don't fly unless you have some sort of mechanical apparatus attached to a horse to make it fly. You need some glider wings on it. You need a parachute on it. You need fans. You need something to keep that horse up. But no, the writings say there's a guy rode on a horse in the sky, flying around. Amazing. But we've never seen a horse that can fly. We've seen horse flies, but never seen a horse that's able to defy gravity in this way. So because of that, we label at least that part of that writing where it says, and then he got on a horse and flew into the sky, that part's got to be labeled as mythology, because we have no way to verify that this happened in the past, because we have no way to verify that it can happen in the present. And as far as we understand it, physics, the laws of nature, work the same today as they did in the past. Now, if you go back far enough in time, eventually physics stops working the way that we understand them, because you're at the tiny singularity dot of the beginning the universe thing that's not even the beginning of the thing, right? So, okay, but we're not there now. We're talking about, 2,000, 3,000 years ago or whatever. Okay, so we're not speaking of the distant past where physics might have been different, because there wouldn't have even been an Earth at that point. But, we're talking about something that happened here on this planet with the laws of nature as we know them. Okay. And you say, well, yes, but because there's this other force going around, that this person was able to defy the laws of physics in this certain circumstance due to X, Y, and Z reasons. So maybe they found a jinn, which we would call a genie, and that genie is a mythical being that isn't mythical in this case, actually a real being that can grant wishes, and they wished that their horse was able to levitate into the air with them on it, and that they could control it and fly in the air. And the genie was not a strict adherence to word genie, but was a nice genie and granted them the wish in the way they wanted, so they were able to fly on their horse around in the sky. Okay, well, I have some questions. First of all, I've never seen a genie. Let's start there. Secondly, how does it grant wishes? What does that mean? Third, I've got, and then how does the genie make the horse fly? And all these questions that I have. And what I have seen and heard and read, many do, not all, but many do, is say, yeah, well, but the thing of it is, we don't have evidence for everything. There's not a way to test everything. You can't put everything on a bottle in some beaker on the shelf in science, and not everything is verified in that way. Yeah, but that has nothing to do with anything right now. Yes, that's true. Maybe. We'll talk about that. But I'm asking you to prove that this is possible. So first, let's admit, one way or the other, whether we can prove that this is even possible. Well, I don't have any genies right now, so I can't prove to you that genies are a thing. Okay, great. Then we're at least on the same page. Okay, so you can't prove genies are a thing. Why should I believe this writing when it claims that genies were a thing that made it possible for the man to fly on a horse, which I also think is impossible? And then the only recourse would be because we don't prove when it comes to the past, if all we have is somebody's writings to say, I saw a thing that you've never seen happen, and by the way, you won't have the ability to see that happen during your lifetime, but no, really, I saw it. How do we then know that that's possible, let alone that it actually happened? We don't. All we can say is that writing claimed something happened that we've not seen anywhere at all. Whether it's, you want to call it magic or miracle or mystical or supernormal or paranormal, whatever it is you want to call it, doesn't change the problem that this event, the guy said, hey, look, I saw it and then it was gone. Okay, but maybe it was a trick. Maybe someone's just picked it up in their hand and moved it. And, well, no, but because they saw the horse flying in the sky. Well, they said that they saw the horse flying in the sky, but did they actually see that? Is there another possible explanation for that? Maybe they met metaphorically, or maybe this is just a legend that popped up later on. We don't have a demonstrable demonstration that indeed a horse can fly. So without that, we're forced to put it into the category of myth. Maybe it happened. Maybe. We're not saying that it didn't happen. But we are saying that we're going to have to be skeptical of it. And then, of course, you get the rejoinder, well, you're just assuming materialism. You're just assuming naturalism. Well, I suppose that's history's fault, not mine, because we've, broadly speaking, decided that anytime any writing anywhere or verbal speech, for that matter, says that an event happened that is beyond the realm of physics as we understand them, yeah, we're going to put that into the category of that probably is a legend. It probably didn't happen. Okay, I can claim I have all sorts of magical powers. I can say, hey, look, I made this thing glow right now. Woo! I'm doing that. Now it's going to stop. Stop glowing. I got to really concentrate. Stop. There. Oh, I did it. Oh, that was hard. That was from me. Well, of course not. That's silly. But you and I understand the basic sort of technology that's inside of this rubber ball thing. You know, there's a little plastic device in there that when you hit it, activates a battery that flashes a light over and over again. Very simple circuit, and at some point it will run out, and then it will become just an interesting ball shape. Like this one has a device in it, but it no more glow. It don't glow no more because the battery dead, and so I'd have to tear it apart to get at the battery, and then I'd never get the damn thing back together. So, okay. But somebody that didn't know how that technology worked, or even that technology was, if I found such a tribe, and some of these tribes still exist, and I was to do that and go, whoo, maybe they would think it's magic. Maybe they'd think that I'm a god or something. And maybe they would write down that I did this thing somehow, and then later archaeologists are like, yeah, he made this thing glow. And maybe the people that wrote it don't even really know how to describe it. He made this multicolored rainbow glow. And they're in his hands. And the archaeologists look at that and go, we got to classify that as mythology. Even though there was a real thing that really happened. But the real thing that really happened is mundane and something that we could explain using modern technology. So, that's a huge issue, that simply saying, well, but there's other ways besides empirical investigation to know the truth or whatever. That doesn't matter. You're no longer on the same page. I'm saying that you're claiming this event happened, and I'm saying there's no way to know that that event is even possible unless we can demonstrate that that event is possible. It does you no good to try to red herring over to, well, but there's other things of evidence other than empirical investigation and repeatable testing. Yeah, I guess, maybe, but I'm saying I want to investigate this. And you're saying, instead of admitting you can't investigate it, instead, if you change it off and say, no, what about this? What about that? That's a problem. So, magic. I can claim magic for anything. Anyone can claim magic for anything. And that doesn't mean diddly squat. So, if this is a problem for the people that believe that their given writings actually happen, because you could very well believe all the other writings out there are mythology, but my writing that I personally believe in, well, that's the one that happens to have really happened for real. The other ones are all made up. Or, well, they got it wrong. Or, well, demons tricked them into seeing things. Well, that leads a whole nother can of worms open, but nonetheless, okay. Or maybe the people just have a legend about this, a story that got exaggerated over time until somebody somewhere wrote it down, and that's what we found, and that's what we're looking at. So, does that mean God doesn't exist? No, not at all. Not even a little. It means nothing. All it means is that if we're relying only on the documents of any given event to tell us that that event happened, that when and if those documents mention something magical, mystical, paranormal, supernatural, whatever the word is you want to use, we must be skeptical that those events happen. That's where faith comes in, and you can just go, I don't want to be skeptical. I want to believe it. Okay, I can't stop you. I don't think you should do that because I'm a skeptic, but I mean, you do you. Okay. So all of that is to lead into this where we're going to talk about Moses, who might have not even existed, and if he did exist, I don't really care, because the things that you're saying that Moses was told are things that we're told that Moses was told in writings. And there's other problems with that narrative. And I'm going to talk about those problems as we explore Moses and whatever the hell is going on now, because this guy has decided to talk about Moses. I guess Moses might be proof of Yahweh. You'd have to prove Moses existed and that he did the things that he said to do. And I mean, really, if you could prove that Moses talked to God, then yeah, you would prove God, because you would have God then, right? But anyways, okay. And I see the people in chat. Hi, Wildheart. Hi, Trinity. Hi, everybody. Whoever else happens to pop into chat. But I have to do this. I need to do this. I want to do this. So let's do this.
Centuries later, a man named Moses was commissioned by God to lead the nation of Israel out of the nation of Egypt. And during the job interview process, Moses asked God a simple question. Moses said this: suppose I go to the Israelites and I say to them, the God of your fathers has sent me to you. And they ask me, oh yeah, well, what's his name? What shall I tell them? And God said to Moses, I am who I am. That's what you should say to the Israelites. Tell them, I am has sent you. Now, God wasn't using bad grammar. He said, my name is I am. Literally, he's saying, tell them that the one who exists sent you. He's saying, I am the eternal God, the one who has always existed. So according to the biblical authors, there's enough evidence before our eyes to grasp the truth that we're not alone in the universe, that there's someone behind all of this. You need to do nothing more than look around you.
Okay, so the look around you bit again. Covered this last time, so let's just quickly do it. I don't see God. There's no methodology here. And so this is not skeptical thinking. This is not how I, as a skeptic, would teach or try to teach. Not that I believe I could teach people. Well, I don't know. I guess I'm trying to do that to some extent here, aren't I? The methodology of look around is not, that's not good enough, okay? What am I asking you to look for? What is it that I'm asking you to examine to get to any given conclusion? So I would want first to outline the methodology I want you to use. Now we can debate about that methodology. Maybe you feel my methodology isn't very good, and you might be right. You know, it's like, look, going back to the magic trick. It's like, if I just claim it's magic, and I say, and you're not allowed to test it, by the way, you're never allowed to see this in real life or mess with it. You can't disassemble it or look at it through, any scientific device. You just have to believe me that it's really doing this because magic. Then I don't really have anything that proved anything, do I? It's just asserted that it was magic and then refused to let you investigate it. And that's not good. So, yeah, the Bible says whatever. Why do we care? You haven't demonstrated that the Bible is something for us to consider to be an authority on anything in the first place. It's convincing perhaps to your audience, who are probably already Christians or wanting to be Christians or stay Christian or whatever. But as for the skeptic, this is not skeptical thinking. Look for the thing that I want you to find. Look for magic and you will find magic. If I said, this is magic, and look for magic, and don't, that's the answer, and the only explanation that worked is magic, and if you say anything else, you're wrong, well, then you have to say magic. That's not a system of deducing whether it's a mechanism inside of this or if it is magic. Well, how would I demonstrate if it's actual magic? Well, maybe, and theists have proposed this, that we eliminate the natural possibility. So we would take it apart and look inside of it to see what's going on. And if we found nothing in there, nothing mechanical to make it light up, yet it lit up anyways, that would be amazing. That would be interesting. But that would require us to be able to examine it and test it. Okay, we've got one guy, one dude who God is talking to. Not enough quotes in the universe for that. Why am I saying this? Because anybody, and people have in the past and in the present, and I'm sure will in the future, claim that God has spoken to them. I can do it right now. Oh, look, God, the real God, mind you, who's actually Laud. If you haven't read The Lobsterist yet, I don't understand what's wrong with you. I've only promoted it 1,000,000 times, and nobody has analyzed it, not even once. Anyways, so the real deity, the real God of the universe, just talked to me just now. That's my claim. And I'm coming to you and I'm saying, God's real name is Laud. And you're like, prove it. Why is it that God is relying on one person to walk wherever or get a ride, whatever, I don't know, to go talk to people and say, hey guys, the God just told me all this stuff. And they're like, what's God's name? I am. No, what's his name? No, that is his name. I am. I am. Well, that's the English version. I don't know what the hell it would be in Hebrew. So we're just going to pretend that Hebrew is English because I can't translate I am for you. But I am. That's his name. There you go. That's his name. Is that his name? I don't know. We never knew his name. I guess that's his name. Yeah, that sounds good. Sure. Why not? Person that I've never met before. Sure. God told you about this information that's really important. And meanwhile, I'm in the back like, excuse me, guys. Just wondering, why didn't God just tell us? Why is he relying on one dude when God could just tell all of them right now what's going on? Hey, guys, I'm God. Oh, my word, it's God. Ah, what do you want? What's going on? I'm sorry. What do we, it's God. What do you want? You know, no, I'm just telling you, I'm going to set you free. Oh, really? Thanks. That'd be cool. Yeah, you're free. Actually, right now, you're free. I just did it. Oh, wow, we're free. Amazing. How'd you do that? We're not even in that location that we are. Where are we? Well, you're in the new land that I've given for you. Well, that's amazing. How'd you do that? Because I'm God, I can just do that. But no, that's not what God does. He says one dude to tell a bunch of other dudes, hey, yeah, the real God totally told me to tell you this information. Why? When that's 100 other guys could come and be like, no. My God, the real God, not this guy Moses. Don't listen to him. My God told me that actually the God of the Egyptians here, Ra, he's the real God, and he wants to keep you slaves. Don't listen to that God. But that God wants to free us. That's a better God. I think I'm going to go with the one that wants me free. Yeah, but you don't even know that either of these two gods is real. Shut up. We're going with the God that frees us. Yeah. Anyways.
And as we've just seen, the very existence of the universe stands as a powerful evidence for the existence of God. But the universe isn't done speaking, folks. The universe has more testimony to give. See, not only does the mere existence of the universe speak to God's existence, but I would propose to you that, as your outline says, the complex fine-tuning of the universe also points to God's existence. The complex fine-tuning of the universe. What are we talking about here? Imagine with me that you're walking barefoot through a field, a bunch of tall grass with a friend, and as you're walking, your toe stubs on something, and you look down, and look at that, a boulder. Your toe hit a rock, a little boulder. And your friend asks you, so how do you think that boulder got there? And you say, you might possibly answer by saying, well, for all you know, that boulder has been there since the beginning of time. You know, the stone was there, some volcano spewed it out, or some glacier dropped it off. It would be difficult to argue with you about that. It's not a crazy premise. Now suppose as you're continuing to walk along your journey, and once again your toe stubs, and this time, you stumble on an iPhone. Now, your friend asks you the same question about the iPhone that they asked you about the rock. How do you think that iPhone got there?
Okay, you already did the watchmaker argument. So now you're just going to do it again? Really? That's all you got is the watchmaker argument. I already covered this last time, so no. Okay, this analogy can only work if you know what a phone is. Let's pretend you didn't know what a phone was. And you say, I don't know. I don't know how this got here. I don't know what the hell this is. It looks weird. And if it's off and non-functional, or even if it's on, but if you don't know how to work it, it would appear to be somewhat hard, like a rock, and you'd smash it against another rock and be like, yeah, it seems like another rock to me. It's a weird rock. Because you only know the answer to the analogy because you know the technology. And of course, the analogy fails when you're looking at a rock because a rock is a rock and a phone is not a fucking rock. So the watchmaker analogy is broken. Everything would be a watch. Everything would be a cell phone. And you're again asking this friend how something got there. You don't know how the phone got there. That's the question. Not how was it constructed. That's a different question. And we could answer how the rock was constructed, by the way. We could also answer how the phone was constructed. But we can answer how the both were constructed utilizing actual science. We can't answer that their construction was magic.
Oh, I got a few messages here. I would highly doubt that you would give the same answer for the iPhone that you gave for the rock. Why is that? The reason is simple. Unlike the rock or the boulder, the iPhone has obviously been assembled with a purpose. It has mechanisms that are finely tuned. It didn't just happen on its own. It bears the distinctive marks of a designer.
Wow, way to screw up the fine-tuning argument. I mean, when you said fine-tuning, I really thought you were going to go down the path of talking about the variables in the universe that are set just so. If he brings that up now, he's going to bring that up next, isn't he? The moment I hit play, he's going to say all the things that I'm saying he should say, isn't he? Let's find out.
Now step with me out of the field and step with me into a cave somewhere on the continent of Africa. An archaeologist has stumbled upon a simple etching on a wall. It's faded and it's barely legible. But it's clearly depicting the stick figure of some type of antelope.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and assume he's not going there then. So I'm going to complain about the thing. We all know the thing. We all know the thing with fine-tuning. Where, oh, if this was off a little bit and this was off, then the conditions for life wouldn't be possible, right? This is usually when we hear fine-tuning, this is usually what we get. And it's like, yeah, if things were different, they would be different. And, well, life wouldn't be possible. No. Life as we know it wouldn't be possible. No. No life would be possible. You don't know that. I don't know that. Depends what life is, first of all. And secondly, we haven't run, as far as I know, that simulation then. You could have a computer simulate our universe from the point of the dot to now, and then you could arrange the variables in a different way and see what happens under those conditions. You would need probably a really good computer to do this. I don't think Universe Sandbox is quite cut out for such a feat. I thought about downloading it just to make a point, but I was like, I think that this isn't exactly good enough to do what I wanted it to do. But this would be something you could demonstrate. But even if you could show that every single variable, except for the one that we happen to have, could support any life whatsoever under any definition of life, then you'd be like, well, we got lucky. But then, of course, we're in a universe that can support life. It couldn't be the other way around. We couldn't find ourselves in a universe that didn't and couldn't support life unless magic allowed us to do that. So it would be amazing if we found ourselves in a universe that was non-life permitting, didn't have tuning for us. That would be amazing. That would point towards there being some unnatural or supernatural mechanism going on. Not that, hey, by the way, I'm alive. Amazing that I exist right now. Must have been a god. As far as the complexity of things, and he's going into the analogy of cave drawings, yeah, but again, you have to really examine those cave drawings because Water, if it drips enough in the right locations, it could form things that look like drawings. So you have to know your stuff. And people come in later and draw on the wall and make fake drawings. So you have to be able to know what you're looking at to determine whether or not the figure is drawn by a person later on, or drawn by nature. So you would still need a methodology to discover which of those are the case. Your analogy of it looks designed, so it must be designed, fails on its surface, and we all should recognize that. I know many of you do, maybe some of you don't. Hopefully you will now, but let's see what he has to say.
I'm a really good artist. But, I mean, this is ancient, folks, okay? So clearly it's an etching on a wall, and it's clearly some ancient antelope, and it's colored, you know. And the archaeologist, without hesitation, points to this drawing as proof of some ancient, reasonably intelligent ancestor that put it there. No one argues. Clear, excellent drawings of animals don't just appear out of nowhere.
That's not how an archaeologist wouldn't just go, hey, that's a thing that says that. No, that's not how archaeology works. It's actually, they'd be much more careful about it. Maybe once it's been identified, they might do something. Anyways.
Now travel with me to a darkened theater where they're showing a rerun of Contact, the film based upon a book by the famous atheist Carl Sagan. In the movie, scientists are scanning the skies for signs of intelligent life in space. And for years, their radio telescopes receive only random static. And then one day, they begin receiving transmissions of prime numbers. Numbers that can only be divided by themselves and the number 1. This was information. And from that, in the film, they conclude that there is an intelligence out there. As the famous atheist Carl Sagan himself once said, and I quote him, the receipt of a single, just one message from space would be enough evidence to know that there is intelligent life out there. Now, where are we going with all this? What do iPhones in fields and etchings in caves and prime numbers from space have to do with evidence for the existence of God? Reason with me. If simple prime numbers communicate the existence of an intelligent designer, what does something as complex as DNA?
Why? 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 Okay. DNA today is way more complicated than it was way back when. So it was really simple at this point in time, and then it got a little bit more complicated, and then a little bit more complicated, and a little bit more complicated, and a little bit more complicated. And it kept doing that until it is today. But we're just going to look at it today and go, wow, that's really complicated. Must have been designed that way. No. That's not how evolution worked. I can't believe we're still stuck on the same damn argument. The code. The code must be from a coder. The DNA must be from a DNAer. Reality requires a realtor. It doesn't prove the thing that you need it to prove. And I was just talking about this. People are saying, oh, but it's a code. Why are you guys always saying it's not a code? Because it means a different thing than what you think it means, okay? It's different. The coding is a different sort of coding. And even if it's, you go, well, but let's just pretend that analogy isn't really an analogy. Let's just pretend that code really means what I need it to mean so that I can infer a designer. And go, okay, yeah, but you still have to accept evolution if you're accepting DNA, right? Well, no, because I want to just pretend that DNA looks like it looks now and always has looked that way. Because if you don't pretend that, then you can't make the argument that it looks designed today. Yeah, go back when it was first was around in a single, protein or whatever. Didn't look very designed then. So, are you saying that the chemical components that were floating around in water or wherever the hell they were, that those were designed that some would come together and stick together and others weren't? Is that what you would have to be saying that in order for this to matter? But then you're saying, then you would still need proof that those molecules were designed to stick together. How would you prove that?
Communicate. Every single cell in the human body contains more information than the entire Encyclopedia Britannica combined.
No, not really. Also, citation required. There's 4 things in DNA, and they pair up in different ways. I am no expert. I can't explain this, but you've got A, B, C, D, whatever. I don't know what the hell they are because I don't know anything. But then you have different pairings that do different things, and then how you mix those pairings makes different things. It's quaternary. It's not binary. It's quaternary. But it's extraordinarily inefficient at doing what it does. It does what it does pretty damn well. Don't get me wrong. But it's still inefficient. It could be made better. And CRISPR, which is this whole science that is way beyond my field, CRISPR has found, using this thing called CRISPR, whatever, they have tapped into the bit that writes and copies DNA and found that if they extend this one thing, that they could make DNA copy itself perfectly every time. The problem is we get flaws in DNA over time, and that was really laundry. And so the flaws are what make us age, essentially, and why we eventually, go kaput. So by tweaking this little thing, they think that they could make it that would not happen. And if they were successful, that not only means that you and I would no longer have to age, but actually we could reverse the clock and slowly unage to whatever age we wanted to be. So I could be 18 and stay 18 for as long as I wanted. That's pretty cool. That's coming from the human mind looking at this stuff and saying, hey, look at this flaw. We could fix that flaw and make this flaw not be a flaw. So I guess the great designer built us with this flaw so that we could die of old age. And we're on the cusp of solving that so that it's not an issue anymore. Now, let's bring up C19. Why not? COVID. COVID's mutated, apparently. Oh, yay. Great. And we're dealing with the original COVID, and now we're dealing with a new version of COVID because our grand, all-wise, intelligent maker decided that it would allow for certain things to come around to be able to kill us. Why? Because reasons. Viruses and bacteria. Why did you need to make it that way? Oh, well, because you guys all sinned and I didn't like that. Yeah, no. Anyways, back to the stupid video. What else did we got? You got anything yet?
Every single cell. What does that tell us? If the existence of a simple stick drawing of an antelope is enough evidence to surmise an intelligent designer, what does the existence of the actual living, breathing, reproducing, three-dimensional antelope tell us? As your outline says, our universe bears undeniable evidence of design. Undeniable evidence of design.
Yeah, I'm sure that their thing says that. That doesn't make it true! This is the opposite of skepticism. This is the opposite of critical thinking. Okay? Yeah, let's define, Adam Skeptic, define information. Yeah, that's something that a good skeptic would do. I want you and I, look, we're dealing with what's called natural language, okay? We're dealing with the fact that every single word I say and every single word you type, we have to assume we know what the hell we're talking about. Now, sometimes, and for the most part, we do. But a lot of times, we don't. Because words have multiple meanings. And so you have to infer meaning from the context around it. And sometimes that's not even enough. And when you get into the technical of science, which is what this guy is referring to when he's talking about DNA, but he's going way off kilter with a full-grown antelope must mean designer. No, because the two are nothing alike. They're not analogous in any way, shape, or form. One got there through sequences over time. The other got there when I sat down and I built the thing. There is a difference. There's a big difference. And you're doing harm to science when you conflate, well, when you mix in intelligent design with science, which is what you're doing. It's a relabeling of creationism is, oh, look at DNA, it's got to be designed. And then you say the universe looks designed. In what way does the universe look designed? What do you mean by that? What methodology are you utilizing to determine that the universe looks designed? And even if you did look designed, fine. What methodology are we using to determine that it is designed? Because something simply looking a certain way doesn't mean anything. We have rock formations that look like they would have been designed by humans. We've got that Indian rock. We've got other rocks, that look like something that somebody carved. But nobody carved it. It was done by nature. It happens. I guess God really wanted us to think that we saw an Indian in that rock. It's ridiculous. It's not even a good argument, nor is it evidence of anything at all other than your lack of understanding of science, which, fair enough, I don't understand enough science to explain to you how DNA works. But you don't either. What about RNA? What about, the sequencing genomes and yeah. Well, we're going to ignore all that because it looks designed, What's next? Are you going to bring up the cell thing that had the little T in it that people were like, oh, look, it's a cross. Ah! Is that next? I mean, come on.
To illustrate just how powerful this evidence is, let me throw a couple of numbers on the whiteboard here. Okay. Here's a number. 13.7, of course. 13.7 billion. That's how many years since the Big Bang, cosmologists estimate, physicists. Here's a number, 10 to the 17th power. That's 10 with 17 zeros behind it. That is the number of seconds since the Big Bang. That's the number of seconds in human history. 10 with 17 zeros behind it. Here's a fascinating number. 10 with 14 zeros behind it, the 14th power. That's the number of cells in the human body. Okay, little tiny cells, that's how many cells in your body. If somebody asks you tomorrow, I wonder how many cells in your body? 10 to the 14th power. How'd you know? I go to Broadway Church. That's what you Here's a number, 10 to the 80th power. That's 10 with 80 zeros behind it. That is the number of subatomic particles in the whole universe. Okay, that's a huge number. You say, Darren, why do you have those numbers up there? One person declared that you and I live on what they said was the knife edge of existence. You see, there are certain fundamental constants and qualities that were embedded in our universe from the very moment of the Big Bang. We're just going to touch on 3 of these constant. They're called cosmological constants, fundamental constants. For example, there's what's called the gravitational constant. This was embedded right from the very beginning. If this were not exactly as it is, the universe would not have been able to form because planets and stars would not have formed.
Wow. So what was it? 3 analogies? I don't know. I lost count. It was at least 2. Maybe 1. I don't know. How many analogies did he do before getting to the part that I said he was finally going to do with the fine-tuning stuff that we usually hear? Now, I have zero idea if he's right. Is gravity a constant that was the same in the very early stages of Big Bang or not? I have no idea. I do not know. And I don't even know how to look that up offhand. So I'm going to leave that to my more scientifically minded skeptic atheists out there to trot down and find out if what he's saying is even true. But what's interesting is he said it was true. He didn't say who discovered it, how we know it's true, who said it's true, nothing, no citation. So here's a number to put on your board. 0 citations. Oh, by the way, in case you're wondering, now last time we had comments and it seemed like we could comment on this video, but now comments are completely off. So that's how much feedback these guys want. Now the pastor who might talk to me maybe after he's done doing this whole course, unless I ruin that by being jaded and stuff. So I don't know. Don't bet on it. Anyways, but at any rate, he's like, I'm not responsible for whoever does the video stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but you could talk to them and tell them, hey, look, people need to be able to comment on this and respond to it because we thought you guys wanted us to ask questions. It seems like you don't really want us to ask questions.
So think of a dial. I was thinking the other day, I can still, my combination lock from high school. I mean, I went to high.
All right. So he's doing the think of the dial, which of course there isn't a dial. Okay, so the fine tuning, you look, the dials or switches or no, there isn't any of that. But it's interesting that he went off from the gravitational constant to here's another story. Just stick to what is known. Show us what is known. Demonstrate how we know that it is known. Those are facts. Give us that. If you're going to say, hey, there's gravitational constant since the very earliest bit of the Big Bang, fine. Who discovered that? When? How do we know that's true? What's the mathematical formula that demonstrates that true? That's all stuff that you can present us. That would be interesting. I'd actually learn something from that. I watched many of my, I think I saw, his name was just on here. Now my brain's going off, who's it face of Atomic Skeptic, for example. Was it him or somebody else now? But I was just listening to, and they were like, we're going to tell Hovind how he's wrong. And I'm like, well, no, you're going to teach him stuff. And I'm like, no, you're not going to teach him anything. He doesn't want to learn. You're going to teach us, And, I wish I knew more about science. I mean, I learned little pieces here and there. My thing is logic. It's always been logic. I mean, that's the thing if I have a claim to fame, that's it. I'm an amateur logician. I haven't been paid yet to be a logician, so I can't be anything but an amateur logician until I get paid for it. But anyways, that's it. That's all I can bring to the table. It's just pointing out the fallacies. Here's a fallacy. Look at this guy. Look at how many different things he has to present before he gets to the point. Somebody in chat was saying, what's the point of all these numbers? Who cares? Just tell us, here, this gravitational constant was discovered by so-and-so at such-and-so date and confirmed in this peer-reviewed publication, blah, 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 at such-and-so date by blah, and blah, and blah. And the mathematical formula to know that this is true is blah, and that was discovered by blah. And there you go. There's citations in the description below, and also I'm going to put them here on the screen for you right now. Here they are, blah, 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 blah. Then I'd be like, hey, now I believe that you're telling me the truth, that this gravitational thing is a thing. Then tell me the next thing. Okay, great. And go, hey, look, now we've got these 3 things that we know are facts for sure because I gave you all the resources you would hope to need to have, and then some, so that you could know that I'm not just making shit up, and then go, okay, if those were different, then no life at all would be possible. And I go, okay, now you're going to need to prove that that's true. So let's say that gravity was half of what it is universally. Would we still be here? That is to say, would life have arisen in such a universe? I don't know. Do you? Does anybody? No. How do I know that we don't know? Because, well, now, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm going to make the statement that there has not been a generated model of the universe. Because if there was, wouldn't the apologists just go, hey, by the way, IBM teamed up, made this computer that calculated how the universe is formed, and we decided to tweak gravity one day, and we saw that it led to nothing but universes that couldn't possibly hope to contain life at all, period. But then, at the end of the day, let's say that you did that work. You haven't done that work. You won't do that work because you guys don't care. You, at the best, then we say, okay, we've got a highly improbable situation. And that doesn't mean anything other than we have a highly improbable situation. So what? If I was to count all the many ways, you could do this now if you want. Well, not now, but do it when I'm done. If you're bored and you have nothing better to do and you like math, so none of you are going to do this, but somebody might. You could calculate in America all the different ways to die just being in your house, okay? And like how many percentage of Americans die from falling on the floor in the bathroom, blah, 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 right? And then go, but I am alive, and so the odds of me being alive compared to all that is 1 in whatever the bleep the number is, and it's going to be a huge number. And you go, well, it's amazing. I beat the odds. I'm alive still. You're alive still. We beat the odds. Amazing. That must mean what? Doesn't mean anything. It's just the way things are. Probability and big numbers don't mean anything. But you don't even have the demonstration that these things mean something. That, well, there's life here in a universe. Well, yeah. But that's in spite of the universe, because as far as we know, this planet we know for sure. So that means, I don't know what the percentage would be of the rest of the universe compared to our planet. It's more than 99%, I can tell you that. But let's just make it simple because I'm a dummy. 99% of the universe is all death except for here. And then on Earth, I don't know how much is land. And usable land at that, so it's less than let's say 50%. It's less than that, but it's like 50% of the Earth is somewhere where life could be. Okay, some life can live in the water, but I'm talking about our life because our life is the only one that we're gonna care about because that's the only life apparently that gets a soul or a spirit and gets to go to heaven. Apparently. or whatever, you know. So oh goodness, what was I saying? What was I doing? I don't remember. Oh, fine tuning. Fine tuning is not a thing. Go on with the video. I can't even do it anymore.
High school in the 70s.
I don't care.
I can still remember my combination lock. It's 52.
Yeah, whatever.
But anyway, so now it's too late. You're just haunting me. So think of this, so you got that dial, and there's all these little, let's say 100.
No, don't care.
And that gravitational constant,
skip,
the weak force.
Skip.
Without it,
skip.
It's the expansion of the universe that allowed the chemistry to take place and planets.
Yeah.
One gentleman actually declared that, I'll get to that in a second. Each of these constants has to be intricately set at a level of specificity that is unfathomable. If all these, and these are just...
Okay. Listen to that very carefully. I want you to hear this, because I heard it. Pretty sure you did, because you guys and girls and robots out there are pretty smart cookies. And even though none of you broke the code from whenever I did that video about the code and I hit a code in it, no one even tried to break the code. Oh, and I love the comment I got from some theist. Only 40 people watched your video. Nobody watched your video. And I'm like, that's not an argument. Like, argue against what I said. And then they didn't say anything because they didn't have an argument. Also, I only got 40 views, and that making me sad and hurt my feelings. But then I started complaining about it, and nobody cared. What was I talking about? All right, magic. No, that's not what I was saying. Oh, yeah, the universe dials of, fuck me.
Just three of many. If all these dials were not specifically...
Oh, right. Now I remember. I'm sorry. I've lost my mind again. Okay, Deconverted Man's back. All right, so the dials. Notice what he said. They were set. The dials were set. These imaginary dials that don't really exist were set. Well, then who set them? That's what he said. He said the dials were set. There are no dials. There is no setting going on. Nothing about this could hope to show that God is. Fair enough, none of it can show that God isn't either, but this is not an argument other than, hey, if I change these numbers, then the numbers would be different. Yeah, and then things would be different. If things were different, things would be different. It's amazing how that works. This isn't evidence of anything at all. Not even a little bit. Maybe it's evidence of how crap some apologists are at science or stuff, or maybe it's evidence that our science communicators need to explain fine-tuning more often and better than they do or something. I don't know. I mean, I'll leave that to the rest of you people out there that make videos. I can't do it. I don't know anything about fine-tuning other than it's not really a thing. It's like kind of a thing, but it's not a thing, and I don't understand it, so somebody explain it. Let's just edit that part out later. What do you mean I can't edit? Oh, fuck. Anyways, so what were we talking about? All right, okay. Look at that, 27 minutes and 50 seconds. I've been going an hour. I give that. Oh, God damn it all. Okay, well, you know what? Considering that, I think I'll stop for now because my brain can't take any more of it. That is evidenced by the lack of coherency that is happening from words and then it's whatever. So far in part one, we had him give us an argument that we've heard, and then we had him give us another argument that we've heard. Both of these arguments ignore science to some extent and wax philosophical whenever necessary to continually ignore science and also how things really work and also logic itself in order to get to their conclusions. None of these things that he's presented have been evidence for anything at all, not even a little bit. And when he could have presented us with evidence for any of the things, he did not. Notice he said earlier, he said, one guy said whatever. And I'm like, who's this one guy? I mean, you're not even going to bother to say who said whatever? Like, he mentioned Carl Sagan, and he mentioned the movie Cosmos. What he didn't mention is the movie is very different than the book. You know, I might be misunderstanding this, but if I remember it right, the movie, they changed like the very ending where they have that whole, well, the guy that believes in God like understands the woman because she's saying, no, I really had this experience, right? And nobody believes her that she had this experience because she can't prove it, right? And yet there is actual proof that something happened because the tape is like way longer than it should be, but they kept that out of the public because why? I'm not sure. I don't know that that's in the book. I think they put that in for the movie. I could be wrong. I don't know. I haven't looked it up in a while, but I remember the book being different than the movie. I remember that for sure. So I'm adding in all the other things that are probably false so that you can tell me I'm wrong in the comments. So we'll give you something to do. Yeah, that's why I said all this. I just didn't say it's just to waste your time and energy. It's not like you're going to comment anyways once this is a video. You're going to talk and chat and be like, that counts. It doesn't count for the YouTube thing. You're not going to like the video. You're not going to share it. Ah! Anyways, hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next time. Oh, I'm not done yet? Lobsters. Lobsters. There, it said lobsters. You happy? All right. Thanks for listening. Goodbye. Goodbye, everybody. Like, comment, and subscribe. Hope you're entertained. My mystery is your entertainment. And we're